for stopping by my page and checking out another mental health ADHD video. So for today I want to talk about something really important, and that's past relationship trauma and pain. There's a lot of baggage that we can bring along as people, as human beings. Regardless of whether we have ADHD or not, our body, our neurochemistry, the pain, the mental imagery, the conditioning that comes from past damage, trauma, hurt feelings. If we don't heal that and go through it, we take that along to our next relationship. Or some of us just carry that and don't get into another relationship or refuse to because it's difficult, because we feel hurt because of past experiences. Maybe you were cheated on. Maybe you were the partner who cheated on your partner. Maybe your feelings were so hurt by something else. There's so many different things that can happen that can hurt us, and that can make such a big impact that we don't want to enter another relationship. So, this video is going to focus on how some of our past relationships and the really bad things that we've gone through, especially in regards to infidelity and cheating on your spouse or partner, the damage that can come from that, from those who have been on the receiving end, the partner who was not aware, the partner who it was happening to, the innocent bystander, if you will. We're going to talk to that individual. That is what this video is going to be about. Talking to that hurt partner or that individual that still carries some of that pain and can be in a relationship or can be choosing to be single. The points covered in this video will deal with both those situations, but it's going to be a self-reflecting video. It's going to be a video that hopefully brings you some insight and gives you courage to help you in your current relationship so you and your partner can stop suffering and can hopefully improve. Anyway, now that we've talked about all that, yet again, I apologize. There's a windstorm brewing around over here. I don't know what's going down. It's some Wizard of Oz shenanigans going downtown over here. So anyway, try my best, and hopefully these points can be of some help to you and those watching. So if you haven't already, please subscribe. Please like or share if you dig what we're working on here. It comes from a labor of love from me. I work in mental health and I want to help people. So before we dive into the first point, I just want to reiterate that some of these points might hit home, some of these might not. Maybe they might in a partial degree to some degree. So take with it what you will and reflect and see, maybe, you know what, maybe I do got trouble with this. Maybe I don't. Maybe I do in certain areas. I really encourage people watching and listening to really not think in all or nothing in absolute terms. That can really be diminishing to your critical thinking as a human being and can really stand in the way of you learning more. Point number 1. Invasive. Thinking your current partner or next partner will do the same thing your ex did. Overprotective, paranoid, questionable. When we've been through something where we've lost trust, especially in a spouse or partner, and we have a lot of damage from that, that can keep us very startled. The sight, the smell, anything that can trigger a memory is going to incite a feeling of unease in the body. For some people, it's an anxiousness, maybe chest anxiety, maybe the palms get sweaty, you just get nervous, and it's like that, oh, here comes that feeling that I just really want to avoid. So unfortunately, sometimes we might not be aware of the coping habits or tactics that we use when we're feeling that. And sometimes, unfortunately, we might perceive that when it's not really happening, especially if it's a new partner, someone we're dating or married to who's not the partner that caused the damage. Yet our body and our mind might still interpret the threat as the same person, and then in a very unintentional way, in an unconscious way, we might thrust upon those worries and concerns onto our current partner that had nothing to do with the infidelity of your previous partner, your ex. And that's not fair to your current partner. So we gotta be careful sometimes and not let that overwork us and cause us to act and lash out in negative ways. It's really hard to do that, to keep yourself on check, especially when such a startling, intense collection of feelings, anxieties, and just negative cortisol, stress going on in the body, when something, a smell, a sight, a memory might invoke it. And if you let that thought drive you that far, then you're gonna be present, and you're almost gonna feel like the way you did back in the day when it did happen. And then your body and your mind, you're gonna revert back to behaviors that were unconscious, perhaps, your coping behaviors. And you might start to say, unintentionally, the things that you wanted to say to your ex, you might be saying to your current partner. And that's unfair to your current partner. That's also not being responsible. But hey, sometimes we don't know. We've been through a lot. And when we're hurt and when we're damaged and when we're really anxious and our mind isn't functioning properly, we're not going to have the ability to fully analyze and stop ourselves and reflect before we go into fight or flight mode, practically. Or we're just trying to survive and not feel bad, and we just do everything in our power to try to avoid it. So what helps with that? Mindfulness. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is a type of meditation in which you focus on being intensely aware of what you're sensing and feeling in the moment. So the next time you have an inkling or you get that thought that's just lingering there of, my current partner might be doing something, my current partner is doing something that my ex used to do, before you allow yourself to become overwhelmed by that thought, and I know it's really difficult to control those impulsive thoughts for a lot of people, give yourself a time where you can just say, time stop. Or you can say, thought stop. And then say, I'm going to be mindful right now of myself. Reflect in that moment by asking yourself, am I over-exaggerating? How am I feeling? Am I really tense? Do I feel anxiousness? Whatever you're feeling, validate it. Internally tell yourself, I'm feeling this way. I'm owning up to it. But I'm not going to let it overpower me. And then reflect on whether what you're seeing or perceiving, and whether that's legitimate, an exaggeration, or something you should maybe look into. Because unfortunately, some people have a pattern of dating the type of people that are more frequently going to cheat on them, unfortunately. And for some of us in the ADHD community, there exists something called hypersexuality, where some people with ADHD, their libido is just really sky high. And there's also some people with ADHD who have a libido that's really low. Those people are known as hyposexuals. So that happens, and that can create a bunch of issues. So it's good to be considerate and knowledgeable of that, and also to be considerate and mindful of yourself, and to not let negative thoughts and thoughts that do not have a high probability of ratio of happening. You have to dissect those thoughts and eliminate them as best as you can. It's not easy, but we can do it. We can be mindful. Practice mindfulness. I really recommend it. Here's a helpful quote. Focusing and dwelling upon incidents/people that have hurt you, rather than focusing on the lessons and knowledge obtained, will hinder you from thriving and cause you to keep seeing and perceiving your past pain and suffering in things and people. If we keep focusing on negative thoughts, negative energy, and just dwelling there and letting that sink into your mind at different parts of the day, maybe frequently throughout the week, you are going to manifest what you're thinking. The vibes, the thoughts that you surround yourself with, or that you allow yourself to be in, you're going to start seeing reflectory points. You're going to start seeing a reflection of that in the different things or places or people you're around. So if that negative thought processing of seeing or dwelling upon that pain, if you have that still going on in you, there's a high likelihood that you're going to see that in your partner. And you might treat them bad, unintentionally, because they're still holding that resentment. We have to let go. We have to forgive. We have to move on. Horrible things have been done to people, I understand. Same here. Past relationships I've had, I've been really hurt. I published a book on intensive ADHD and I talk about that. I've forgiven the females that did what they did. And I understand that they've grown as people and that's not who they are. Just like I'm not who I was then. Just like you, watching, are not who you were as a teenager. Hopefully. You have grown. We have grown. We need to move on. We need to understand that people and circumstances happen because everyone as a human being is in a different trajectory. Some of us further in some areas than others. So, be mindful. Practice mindfulness. Try not to carry that so much in your mind that it takes up a good amount of your headspace. We have to learn to forgive. Different time and place. Might have been a different time and place. It might have just not been the partner for you. It's really hard, but it's possible. Some self-reflection and some introspection. You can do it. You can move on. You can forgive. Next point. Picking fights. Past relationship trauma causing you to treat your partner poorly due to misinterpreting things/actions. Argumentative. Picking fights. Intensity arises. Going back to what I was saying before, when we've been hurt especially those of us with ADHD, our central nervous system is going to be easily startled, which causes us to have rejection-sensitive dysphoria, those of us with ADHD. Most people with ADHD seem to have this from what I've seen in research. And this causes us to really have our feelings, or for us to feel our feelings really intensely. It causes us to feel easily startled, so to speak. So you feel rejection, whether it's you being rejected by somebody else or you feeling like you let somebody down, those things are going to feel absolutely horrible and intense. And can stop you from doing a lot of things. But in this case, it can cause you to be on high alert. It can cause you to want, or it's going to cause your mind to almost be fishing more for the danger that perhaps isn't there. And since we're on high alert, and we were really hurt perhaps from what happened in our past relationship, yeah, it's gonna make us almost hyper vigilant, almost, especially if we're hyper focusing on it and we got a lot of anxiety. Forget about it. It's going to be a thought that's just lingering there, and it's gonna get tense. It's gonna come up frequently. So whether you have ADHD or not, whether you have RSD or not, this can happen. Having conditions, others having conditions too, can definitely complicate this. But what I'm trying to say is, as humans, at the base level, this infidelity and that fear that can come from that pain that we're just so trying to escape and never feel again, yeah. While we're trying to protect ourselves from it, we might be really hypervigilant on it and sometimes that might cause us, so unfortunately or unconsciously, emotionally bait or gaslight our partner, trying to get information out of them, or at the same time trying to get reassurance out of them. When in reality, some of us can just ask or just admit and say that, hey, I still have some anxiousness or anxiety for my previous relationship, and there's certain things I see that you do that just get me a little concerned, and I don't want to be mean to you. It just really hurts me. Can you just please give me some reassurance? I'm sorry that I have to be this way, but I just need it. And you don't even have to say you're sorry. You can just ask for it, you know what I mean? It just kind of gives that extra little, little oomph of, hey, I just want to be loved. And that's totally cool. That's what it's all about. As humans, we need love and connection. Even the most introverted people need that. Looking at y'all, INTJs, what up? Anyways, I'm just kidding. Introverts exist in all different patterns and types of people. So anyway, but going back to what I was saying though, is that we need to be okay with asking for reassurance and also talking about stuff that we're a little nervous about, or that perhaps we need a little more love and nurture or reassurance about. So instead of coming at it from a very intense angle of trying to force it out of someone when they might not even know what's going down, your partner might not even know you need that reassurance. They might not know you're perceiving these things that you're perceiving, and that they might be wondering, whoa, why is my partner treating me so intense and picking fights and et cetera, et cetera. So that's where we gotta talk, and we gotta be like, hey, it might just be me, I might be misinterpreting this, but, be open to talk about it. Bring stuff like that up. But at the same time, keep your mind on check. You have to ask yourself, is this my anxiety talking? Is it the fact that I haven't gotten over my previous relationship, or I haven't gotten over the grieving process of the pain brought forth from that relationship? If you haven't done those things, doing those things, it's necessary for you to finally make closure with that person who did the pain. Forgive them, you move on, and then that what's going on, the issues I was talking about with your partner, and the picking fights and then being unconscious of you doing it, that's all going to diminish, and that over time is going to go away. If you keep it up, and if you keep follow up and you keep refining it, and you keep up the good work, hopefully, that you're going to do. It's not easy. You love your partner, or if you want to be a considerate person, you want to make the relationship thrive, that's what you're going to have to do. So anyways, to finish off that point, add mindfulness as well. Mindfulness is really going to help you keep your thoughts on check and to see if you even need to give more gasoline to keep that thought going. Because if that thought is an irrational thought or a partial truth that's not really true but just minor sort of truth, yeah, we need to cut those thought branches off and leave room for the thought branches of high probability of truth, meaning ones that have a higher chance of actually happening and being legitimate, instead of, oh, I was just tripping and being over anxious and letting that thought be my driving cause. A lot easier said than done, because a lot of us have other trauma that has nothing to do with this type of relationship that's caused us to be anxious. But at the same time, being aware that sometimes we might have anxiety or trauma from other parts of our life, other relationships, and other systems that have caused us issues with this that we might need to resolve. Because at the same time, we have to understand that as humans, we're very complex, and there's various systems and things that have occurred in our life, especially in the critical years, which are your childhood years, that are going to determine how you cope with different things in life. So knowledge truly is power, and applied knowledge, along with follow-up, can really make you be a kick-ass person, which I really hope you can be in your relationship. So let's move on now to the next point. But before we do that, here is another inspiring quote. It is important to know and understand that every individual is at a different point and trajectory in their own mental and emotional journey, and that the negative emotions/actions they might portray have more to do with them and their upbringing than they do with oneself. What the person is going through or their own issues might be the reason that they're not exactly being really chill, happy, and chipper, and lovable, and helpful to you when you tell them certain things sometimes. It's not because they love you any less or anything like that. It's just that they might be really tired. They might be jaded from their job. They might be overworked and they're just not feeling too good. Or they might have a coping mechanism that isn't exactly the best for that system, and they might be unaware of it. So they might be in a slump, so to speak. So sometimes we take things really personal. We think that everybody else is on their A game, but we're the only ones that are not. And we take things really personal, when in reality we got to understand and see that other people, especially our loved ones, are individuals as well. And sometimes they're not going to be at their best too. We can't expect them to be 100%, all the time and give us what we need. We got to understand that, hey, there's times where we're not going to be able to give our loved ones what we need either, because we're really overworked maybe. We're not feeling good that day, that week, or that month. So we got to be considerate to ourselves and got to be considerate understanding of others as well. So let's move on now to the next point. So now, this next point, I want to bring up a little activity that I use with some of the clients that I work with in the mental health, and I want to use it with y'all on this channel. So I call this the anxiety thought reframing tree. Now, in this tree, here we see a nice, lovely tree with a couple of branches sticking out. I want to point to the bottom of the tree, the foundation there, the base, the trunk. We see the brain, okay? That's going to represent us. The tree is going to be representative of our thoughts, all right? The branches are going to be the thoughts and the thought pathways and how much we water them and let them grow and expand, or lack thereof, how much we don't let them grow and expand. We might cut that thought off, Or sometimes we might not water a thought that needs to grow and expand. So, let's talk about a couple of definitions here. I'm going to tell you all 3 words. So the first word on here we have is T. T is going to stand for the truth. What actually can happen and what has a high probability of actually happening. Then on the bottom, the next word, we have PT, partial truth. Partial truths are things that have a chance of happening or might have some false information in there. This happens in different ratios. Then we have false, represented by the letter F. So when something is false, it has a very low probability of happening, in this example, or it's just not possible for it to happen. There are 6 thought branches on this tree. As we can see, there is, how many whole truths do we see up there? There is only 1 whole truth. And there are 4 partial truths and 1 false. So as we can see, as is in life, there are not many things that are absolutely true or many things that are absolutely false. If you go into logic and logic philosophy, oh, you can go really deep into that matter. And intuitive, I'll take you there for sure. It took a lot of philosophy when I was in my undergrad years. As we can see, there are more partial truths than there are false or true on this tree. So sometimes we don't know how to differentiate the partial truths as people. What we do is that we give the same amount of energy sometimes, especially if we have not organized our thoughts or have not learned how to get thought systems going for certain things. But some people are avoidant of certain subject matters. They just don't think about them. So what can happen is some people give the same amount of dedication and energy to all their type of thoughts or whatever enters their thought flow at that moment, basically. And that can be really damaging. That can really cause you a lot of anxiety and a lot of hurt and a lot of just erratic behavior that is just not going to be healthy for you. So what we have to do as people is we have to use mindfulness to help us reflect, to help us learn which of those branches to actually allocate time of importance to in our mind. I know for some people who are really anxious, it's really hard to do that. But there are supplements that help that can be of great assistance for that. So a lot of the time anxiety has to do with lack of serotonin. So there are supplements for that. Supplement L-theanine, basically green tea in supplement form. Company Gero Formulas, I take 100 milligrams of it. It's really good. You can also take grapeseed extract, also known as OPC plus 95 by the company Gero Formulas. That supplement helps out with dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin, and adrenaline. Really good supplement overall. So anyways, those 2 supplements can be quite helpful if you're looking to get into the supplement route to assist with that. Because if we're anxious, we're going to really be erratic and very impulsive in our thoughts. Basically, whichever thought scares us the most is going to give us the energy of importance, basically. Meaning it's going to drive us to do whatever the thought is telling us needs to be done. Otherwise, danger is going to come. So we got to keep that on check because a lot of those thoughts can be irrational or absolutely false. So mindfulness, really helpful. So I hope this tree visual was of some help. This is something I use with my clients. And what I do is we talk about a behavior and then we put what those falsities, what those whole truths are, or what those partial truths are. And then I have them let me know which ones are the negative ones that have the most power, which ones take them to the negative and irrational thought processing. And then I teach them how to cut that branch off and how to keep themselves on check in a way that works for them. And in a way that works within the confines of cognitive behavioral therapy, because that is what I do. So anyway, hopefully that exercise was of some help to you. That exercise can be applied to many different varieties of things. You just have to place the value systems, like in this case, we used truth, partial truth, and falsities. If you want to make it for a system of something else, just change the values and then make it about making the whole truths, or the most realistic ones, be the goal to attain. So you can modify it in many different ways, which I will be using in other videos. So you heard it here, folks. Anyway, let's reflect a little bit. Number 3. Now that we've done the anxiety thought reframing tree, we can talk about number 3. Number 3, anxiousness. Anxiety frequently building up when certain things evoke memories. Letting anxiety thought branches take control. Constant state of worry, internal conflict, no peace. What can help is talking with your partner. Get reassurance from your partner. Do not be afraid to admit vulnerability/doubt in yourself. This is going back to what I was saying earlier. If we want to grow, if we want to be able to talk, we have to face some of our fears of weakness. Maybe stuff we'd never wanted to mention growing up because we thought people would hate us, people wouldn't like us, we would be interpreted as weak or whatever. Listen, your friends, your loved ones, if you can't share that stuff about yourself with them, like if you legitimately can't, then I'm really sorry to hear that. But you need to find maybe 1 or 2 people that are close to you that you can talk to about those things and talk with them. It's a nice healing process to be able to talk sometimes about our vulnerabilities. And for the sake of this video, if you can do that with your partner, that's going to be really beneficial and really helpful. Because then you're going to act out and you're not going to be a mess. Because when we're anxious, we become stressed, which creates a lot of cortisol, stress hormone, which really screws up with your body and can really shorten your lifespan and cause a bunch of other shenanigans that are going to make you be a complete D-bag, or make you be really anxious, or make you be really inconsiderate, or make you into an erratic mess. It's going to make you into somebody that you're really not. It's just that part of you, your worst self. But other people might take it really personally. So for the sake of you and your partner, try to manage your anxiety. Practicing mindfulness, meditation, supplements like I mentioned earlier, L-theanine. L-theanine is the calming agent found in green tea. You can take that in supplement form, and people have reported that it feels like your body just got a massage. And it really relaxes you. It's also really helpful on those days when we're really in a bad mood because we haven't had a good night's sleep or whatever. And you kind of need that. It's really good. It's a supplement I take every day, and it's a really helpful supplement. So people that are anxious, they can really benefit from taking a supplement that helps out with serotonin. So hopefully that can be of some help and some guidance to you, because when we're not feeling good, when the anxiety has just taken over and is just so frequently there, it's really tough because we might be acting based off our survival mode, really, as opposed to who we really are, and it's unfortunate. If your body's on high alert like that, and if you're in survival mode and fight, flight, or escape mode constantly, that can really shorten your lifespan. That can also really put you at risk for really brutal health complications in your future life. At a young age too, so we have to be careful. Be mindful of ourselves. So I present to you this quote as something you can reflect upon. This quote is from the holistic psychologist. Really lovely, inspiring post. I really love the material that I see. That type of stuff needs to be on billboards instead of some of the shenanigans I see on billboards these days. Anyway though, here's the quote. Hopefully it's of some help to you. When people don't feel safe in their bodies for long periods of time, they find ways to create false safety through addiction, dissociation, workaholism, or complete avoidance. Now let's move on to the next and final point. Mistreating others around you due to how negative you feel. This includes family members, friends, colleagues, etc. Keep yourself on check and try not to take out your frustration on others. To reiterate this final point, when we're not feeling well, when we have let anxiety because of fears and concerns of past hurt, whether it be from your partner or other family members, and we haven't moved on, we haven't forgiven, our body and our mind, we're going to be tense. We're not going to feel too good. And because we're not feeling good, we're not going to treat those around us good. There's a lot of people out there, especially our loved ones, who don't deserve to be treated negatively due to us being negligent to ourselves and not addressing what needs to be addressed. So I please urge you to reflect, be introspective, find out what hurts you, what you're anxious about, where that anxiety comes from, where that resentment might come from if you have resentment or anxiety. Finding the source, forgiving those who have hurt you in the past. Having the power to move on is such a grand thing. It can really bring you great benefits as a human being. I urge you to reflect, and I urge you to forgive if you can, or at least start trying to. The people sometimes that have hurt us the most have been really hurt in their lives consistently. Perhaps what they put you through, they have been put through, because that's a behavior they might have learned from somebody else. Maybe it might have been done to them. Unfortunately, sometimes maybe that's what they saw in their home growing up. Life has its ups and downs, and so do people. But it's the power and motivation to forgive, but not to forget, but to forgive, not forget, and to learn from the experience, and not to dwell on the pain, but to move forth and conquer the current relationship you're in, or to refine yourself enough to enter a relationship that perhaps you didn't believe in yourself previously. I want to let you know that wherever you stand, that if you use these points, I truly believe that you can make the changes that you so need to make in order for you, your relationship to thrive. It truly is possible. We have to want it. We have to keep following up on it, and I know it's not easy. But for the sake of ourselves, we have to learn to forgive, we have to learn to refine, and we have to learn to grow from our negative experience as opposed to letting that negative experience dominate us. Dominate it, remove it, refine yourself, and conquer what you gotta do. Anyway, folks, I leave you today with an inspirational quote. If you like this video, like the message, and the information shared, and you feel that it might be of help to someone else, give it a share, give it a like, give it a comment, whatever your heart desires. Anyway, here's the quote. Place emphasis and focus on surrounding yourself with people and things that will help both you and your partner grow in the areas of love, support, understanding, self-reflection, boundary setting, and learning to be accountable for behaviors. This is Wilhelm, your mental health / ADHD comrade. Over and out.